Here on CBS Sports HQ, Week 14 in the NFL, and some big injury news for the New York Jets because they're going to likely be without a couple of key players for Sunday's game against the Miami Dolphins. They're going to list both running back Breece Hall and corner Sauce Gardner as doubtful. Breece Hall dealing with a knee injury, while Sauce hurt his hamstring in last week's loss to the Seahawks. Breece Hall, that is a big hit for a lot of fantasy managers as well, as we're going to dive into the Week 14 injury report with you on this Friday. And for that, we welcome in our fantasy expert, Heath Cummings, and we are talking about Breece Hall. He is doubtful. Heath, how much faith do you have in a Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis? Should we go elsewhere? I mean, the pickings might be slim on the waiver wire, but how much faith do you have in those backups or those other rookies if Breece does not play?
So if you'd asked me a couple of weeks ago, I'd have probably been more excited about Braylon Allen because he was pretty much the only backup running back. We did see Isaiah Davis get involved, particularly in the passing game last week. And so I'm projecting Braylon Allen as a low-end number 2 running back. I didn't even have 24 running backs that I wanted to project as starters this week. So he definitely gets into the top 24, but it's not really as a must-start option. Probably my favorite guy that you might find on the waiver wire, unless you somehow landed Isaac Guerendo. Definitely prefer Guerendo to Braylon Allen. And then in full PPR leagues, I don't mind Isaiah Davis as a flex. In fact, I've got one dynasty league that has Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, and Breece Hall on it. This week, I'm starting Isaiah Davis and Sincere McCormick, which doesn't feel great. But if you're in a pinch in PPR, Davis, not a bad flex option.
All right, let's go to the other team in New York or New Jersey. Technically, we're talking about the Giants, Malik Nabers. He is questionable, and Heath, I do have him in one of my leagues. I'm kind of kicking myself because earlier in the season when he was dealing with that concussion, I picked up Darius Slayton off of waivers. I have since dropped him. So if that's your situation, maybe Darius Slayton is not out there. What do you do if you have Malik Nabers, and how do you handle it considering he is questionable for this upcoming week?
So Darius Slayton is available in almost all fantasy football leagues, so I would guess he's still available in yours unless somebody's picking him up while we're talking. If Malik Nabers is out, listen, it was pretty much double-digit targets guaranteed for Slayton earlier in the year when Nabers was out. I would view Nabers as a boom-bust number 3 wide receiver, maybe a little bit of a boost to Wan'Dale Robinson, but man, he's really kind of fallen out of favor there in New York over the last couple of weeks. I would prefer Slayton to Wan'Dale Robinson, a guy who was available in a lot of leagues earlier in the week and probably still available in most, Elijah Moore. I would prefer him for the Browns with Cedric Tillman out with the concussion. Moore will be the clear number 2 wide receiver for the Browns. So if you want to have a backup plan for Nabers, Moore would be my favorite choice, Darius Slayton second.
All right, we have a pair of injuries to talk about with the Bills, and Dalton Kincaid and Keon Coleman. Both of those guys are questionable, and some folks are predicting a bit of an upset for the Bills for this coming week. But how do you handle that situation with both of those guys being questionable for the week ahead?
So these are different situations because we've been without these guys for a while. I don't really want to trust either one in their first game back. We viewed Dawson Knox as kind of a borderline streaming option, and he's really let us down, which is something we were getting from Dalton Kincaid also, disappointment. If Kincaid plays, he'll be a top 20 tight end, but not a top 12 tight end. Dawson Knox in a very similar spot if Kincaid is out once again. If Keon Coleman comes back, it does impact Khalil Shakir. Right now, Shakir is a borderline number 2 wide receiver, better in full PPR than he is in non-PPR because it's a lot of catches, but they're really close to the line of scrimmage. I would view Keon Coleman as kind of a boom-bust number 3 option. He's been pretty good at getting into the end zone for this team, but I really wouldn't want to trust Coleman or Kincaid if they play.
So quick question, personal perhaps. I have Disley, so should both these are like a little bit of later games, 4:25, and I believe the 8 p.m. one on Sunday, but would you do Disley or Dalton Kincaid?
I would rather start Dalton Kincaid than Disley. Disley had 0 catches last week. The Chiefs have been better against mediocre tight ends, and that's kind of what I think Disley is. So, yes, if Kincaid's back, I would start him over Disley.
Okay, noted, and that is the league that I am currently slated to make the playoffs in. So thank you, Heath. I appreciate that. Hopefully I can take down Chris Hassel. Let's move on to the Bears. We have some injuries ahead of their matchup with the Niners. DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, they are questionable. Where are you at on these guys, and how do you handle if they are on your roster?
a lot of moving parts here because Roschon Johnson, the guy who's been stealing DeAndre Swift's touchdowns, has already been ruled out. I think if Swift doesn't play, then you see that name Travis Homer. We did not ever think we'd be talking about Travis Homer as a feature back, but we didn't ever think we'd be talking about Amir Abdul as a lead back either, and that's happened 2 weeks in a row. So I would expect if Swift is out, that Travis Homer is the guy that leads this team in running back touches. I have picked him up in a couple of deeper leagues. But the flip side of that is if Swift is able to go, this is the most we're going to like him in the last month because Johnson won't be there to take those short yardage rush attempts. So if Swift plays, he's a high-end number 2 running back. If Swift is out, then Homer is behind Braylon Allen, but probably ahead of Isaiah Davis in that low-end RB2, high-end flex conversation. DJ Moore says he's going to play. I'm going to believe DJ Moore. I'm going to expect he's going to play and be okay. I'm going to start him as a number 2 wide receiver. We're starting Keenan Allen as well, whether DJ Moore plays or not. The guy who would really be impacted is if DJ Moore is a surprise scratch, then Roma Dunze is someone who would be elevated from right now. He's kind of a low-end number 3 wide receiver. He'd be a high-end number 3 wide receiver if DJ Moore was out.
All right, Heath, we certainly appreciate it going through the Week 14 injury report. I'll keep you posted if I beat Chris Hassel and so on and so forth. So this might be our last, fantasy personal question segment. We'll have to see. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, you're going to knock him off. Go get him.
I appreciate your confidence, Heath. We certainly appreciate it. Of course, if you want more from Heath, Dave Richard, Jamie Eisenberg, Adam Azer, and the guys, make sure you check out the Fantasy Football Today podcast. We're talking about starts, sits, waiver wire pickups, all of that stuff as the fantasy playoffs are approaching. You can download, follow, and listen wherever you get your pods, or you can watch right now by scanning that QR code on your screen.